Hello everyone, welcome to today's video, which will be based on a couple of TEAMGROUP products to create, let's say, an office slash student PC that is in some sort of a budget range from $600 to $850, and we will get to that part later on in the video, just to explain why is such a huge difference in the price tag. Now, as you might have noticed, we're not going to use a GPU in this case because, well, the GPU's prices are still up, but we're trying to create something that is small, let's say somewhat affordable, and still can be nicely placed in an office or a student's dorm or whatever, and it could give you a, well, nice amount of space on your desk, first of all, for work and everything. Quite nice, I would say it can pack a punch still, and you have all the ports that you need on this little thing. So let's start with some components that you need to take into consideration for this kind of build. Now I will start with a case first, because as you can see, it's something quite different. And what you could expect, this is Invin Shopping Pro, which comes with 200 watts, 80 plus gold power supply, has all the cables already pre-routed. Well, basically they're there, you just need to route them as you see fit and where you need to connect them. And you have two additional USB 3.0 ports on front, you have two 3.5mm jacks on the side. At the back you can accommodate two 2.5-inch SSDs, and with the case you get extender for your SATA to double SATA to connect those SSDs. It's quite nice, quite compact, I would say, and it's quite easy to manage everything inside. Next to that, the motherboard that I use for this build, and this is basically where we can save loads of money. I use the ASRock B550 Phantom Gaming ITX AX, and you can always switch to a cheaper board because this motherboard is $259, and with the ASRock B550M ITX AC we lower down the price by $130. Now unfortunately, if I had that board, I would use it here and basically just switch out to the Phantom Gaming motherboard, because then we will have something that is already pre-assembled in terms of, I wouldn't say that high price in $858, but I have to mention everything just so we have everything straight. Then of course the king of I would say iGPU processors is the AMD Ryzen 5 5600G, that actually is quite nice processor with 6 cores, 12 threads. The TDP is somewhere around 45 to 65 watts. And this power supply can handle it. It can even handle 5700G, but that one is $100 more. And with 5600G, you could do loads of stuff, even play games in lower details and even some lower resolutions. But still, if you're not looking for a GPU build, this is it. Then I decided to go with Noctua NHL9i AM4 Chromax Black, but to save again $54 in this situation, you can go with the stock cooler that comes with the Ryzen 5 5600G. You just need to remove the plastic top so it can fit nicely. It still has enough room because this part is a bit standing out from the original part of the chassis. And finally, we're going to talk about the TEAMGROUP products. Now here you can also save a bit of money, but in terms of just losing one SSD if you don't need that much storage. So for instance, we're going with TEAMGROUP Elite DDR4. These are 2x8 gigs 3200 megahertz, and I would say they are naked, no passive heatsink, just plain PCB board with chips, which is quite alright because we basically don't need that extensive cooling in this situation, and I think that would do the trick. The CL is 22, but basically in this kind of situation we don't need some extreme CL, well, lower CL in this situation, and these ones will do the job perfectly. Now next to that, of course, you have to have storage, right? And you can go with, in this situation and with this case, in loads of varieties. The motherboard can accommodate two M.2 slots, and the case can accommodate additional two 2.5-inch SSDs. So we decided to go with TEAMGROUP's MP33 Gen 3 x 4 M.2 SSD with 1TB. This will be of course the main drive for operational system, application, software and everything that you need to use in your office or for work or for studies or whatever. And as an additional storage, we're going to use TEAMGROUP's CX2. This is the classic series SSD, 1TB as well. Now, if we remove this SSD from whole equation, because, well, basically 1TB is quite alright for you, you will save up additional $78. So basically with this build that we have right here, there are loads of possibilities in terms of flexibility with the price, and you can go from 600 to 858, well, let's circle it, $860. And check this out, it's quite compact. You have the Noctua right here, you have DDR4 TEAMGROUP Elite right here. The M.2 is under passive heatsink, and even the other motherboard, the B550M ITX AC, has a passive heatsink for M.2 SSD, so that's good. And at the back we have also the CX2 classic 2.5-inch SSD. As you can see, I connected it, and if you want to go with additional 2.5-inch SSD, you can place it right here. You have the power, you just need to reroute the SATA cable, and that's basically all there is to it. Now, what I wanted to say in this situation and in this build, it's quite straightforward building, but we'll still go into details and explain everything to you. So first of all, we're going to place everything on the motherboard. That means placing the CPU on the socket, which is AM4. Remove the latch quite nicely and easily. Place the processor, as you can see how it has to go, and lock down the processor with the latch, placing it back in the original position. Now, you might feel some force placing the latch back, but it's nothing to worry about. It's quite normal. Then you can place two 8 gigs of TEAMGROUP Elite DDR4 RAMs. Also do check the latches, because you do need to release them, and try to align, well, you do need to align them perfectly with the connection part in the memory socket, so you don't miss something or you place them wrongly, because you might break something. So it's quite straightforward. You just need to check out the pins and how they go inside. Next to that, we have the M.2 SSD. You do need to remove the passive heatsink. Place the M.2 SSD in the correct socket in the correct way, as you did with the M.2, because it has a couple of pins from the rest of them. And after that, you'll see that the M.2 SSD is under certain degree sticking out of the motherboard, which is quite alright. You just press it down by a finger gently and place the passive heatsink on top and tie up those two screws that hold the passive heatsink and the M.2 SSD. Now we have here the Noctua NH-U9i AM4, which basically comes with its own backplate. In some situations we can use the original backplate and even the plastic parts from AMD motherboards, but in this situation Noctua actually gave everything. You have the backplate, you have the passive heatsink and the fan on top, so you can manage that quite nicely. Basically, what you do is remove the plastic holders for some other CPU tower coolers, and with the 4 screws, place them in the box so you have them for later usage possibly. Place the thermal paste, of course, in P size, and place the cooler on the processor. Now that's not it. You do need to flip the motherboard on the other side, place the backplate on the motherboard, and with the 4 screws that you get with the motherboard, you just tie it up. That's that. Now we have everything sorted out with the motherboard. Place the motherboard inside the chassis, which is quite simple. You just need to, for this case particular, you do need to reroute the cables first down here to make an easier access for the motherboard, and after that you get some clearance to reroute the cables. Later on you can place the 2.5-inch CX2 classic SSD here at the back. If you wish to go with even more SSDs, you can add one right here also. Now that's it. Connecting everything is quite straightforward. We have the 24-pin connection on the motherboard for the power. We have one 8-pin connection here at the top for your CPU. We have the HD audio that goes to these two 3.5mm jacks. We have USB 3.0 right here, and we have the front panel connection as well, which is basically right here on this button. Quite straightforward, I would say, in a smaller case that can basically fit almost everywhere. There's an additional possibility with this case, and you can actually mount it on a wall, because with this panel right here, if you remove the InWin logo, you can actually access 4 screws that, well, basically 4 threads that can be mounted on some certain mounting mechanism, and to place it, I don't know, on a monitor stand, on the side, on the wall, or whatever you wish, or whatever you desire. Basically, this is it. There's nothing actually to it. And the great thing about this build for office usage and for students is that it's quite quiet. Basically, there are only 2 fans. You have one here that you could clearly see right there, and you have a small fan to cool down the power supply, which is barely heard. In other words, it could get to a certain decibel noise, which still is nicely bearable, and it won't bother you while you work or whatever you do on it, but it's a quite nice and elegant build. But the cool thing, the Noctua cools down the processor at 40 Celsius degrees on idle, and even in IDA 64 Extreme Edition system stability test, the temperatures go up to 70 to 72 Celsius degrees depending on what you're doing. So I would say that in a regular usage, if you're in an office or if you're a student doing some work that doesn't actually need the loads of, I don't know, processor power or GPU power, I don't know, doing some sort of architecture designs or whatever, this processor won't heat up that much. So this was tested in extreme situations where the processor is definitely locked to 100% and it goes up to 72, as I said. But in different scenarios, the processor will be working lower, and by that you'll get the possibility to have a nice, quiet and subtle build. That's it. If you have any questions, you can also check out the article on TEAMGROUP's website and on my website as well. I'll place the links below in the description so you can have everything written down and you can check it out, read it actually instead of just listening. Maybe that's more suitable for you, and maybe it will help you even more, because in that article you have everything detailed and each step of the build process and each component described as it should be, and it's quite nice and straightforward. It might help you even better than the video. In the meantime, don't forget to check out TEAMGROUP's products. We have the TEAMGROUP Elite DDR4 2x8 gigs 3200 megahertz, which are basically already inside. We have TEAMGROUP's MP33 Gen 3x4 M.2 SSD with 1TB storage, and we also have the CX2 Classic 2.5-inch SSD with 1TB storage. All the links for the products are in the description below. Finally, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button and hit the notification bell for future content, and we will see you guys very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.